Hey guys, welcome back to another video. It's Lou here. I am giving you guys basically the introduction to the second part of Off to the Races by Elsie Silver. I did end up having to cut it into two parts, so this is the beginning. You guys are going to be watching from maybe like the middle of the book towards the end of the book in this video. So I hope you guys enjoy and I hope you guys like it, and if you make it to the end, please like and subscribe. It's very much appreciated. Okay, bye. See you in a second. Hey guys, update. So I have read another 6 chapters since the last time I updated you guys. Okay, so from chapter 22 to chapter 28, I read all of those. And right after the hookup happened, we're in Vaughn's point of view and it's chapter 22. And he's basically kind of freaking out a little bit because the last time that he was talking with Billy was the fact that she pointed out that he had gotten a text from his mom, and then he read the message and it was like the whole, you're gonna go with this girl to the whatever auction thing that you have to go to, this event thing, and she's gonna wear pink and you should probably match her. That whole situation, she read that and she was in his internal monologue, he was like, her timing is impeccable. I have to hand it to her. I finally start breaking down walls from one of the most closed off women in the world, and my mom sends a text about setting me up on a date with another woman. A date I have no intention in partaking in, especially after last night. He basically goes into detail on how he felt about that situation and how he felt it in a very positive way, and at the fact that he's very much down bad for her. He is very much down. This man has fallen head over heels for her. And I mean, I'm pretty sure he's not like, he's kind of easing up to that motion in his head. And it's very clear to us that he is definitely fallen first. And probably fallen harder. But anyways, after this whole situation, he is basically kind of talking to Billy. After that whole intermonologue about him being down bad for her, he talks to Billy. He's like, Billy, I'm running home, take a shower and change, and then I'm coming back. And Billy said, you don't need to do that. I'm good, bye, whatever. He's like, fuck, her fake enthusiasm makes my eyes roll. Like, he's basically like, fuck, why is she being like this? Like, I understand why she's being like this, but I don't want her to be like this. After that, he goes home and he goes and showers and he goes change. And on the ride home, he calls his mother. He's like, Mom, why did you send that to me? So his mom is a little ignorant on the fact that he works and lives on the ranch. And she's kind of opens up the call with, hi Vaughn, me and your brother are gonna go get coffee, do you want to join us? And he's like, no Mom, I'm on the ranch, like I can't join you, I would have to drive like 2 hours to go to the city. And he's like, I just want you to know that you're gonna have to stop setting me up on dates. It's gone on long enough, no more. And his mom kind of feels a little awkward about that, feels some type of way about that. And he kind of goes into this internal monologue of, my relationship with my mother is strained at best. On one hand, I don't want to make her feel worse than she already does. I'm not oblivious enough to think that she doesn't live with intense guilt for handing me over to my grandfather and drowning herself in a bottle for a few years in the wake of my father's death. But this is making up for her years of absence by smothering me as an adult stunt has got to end. I have to confess, I'm worried that without it, we'll have no common ground. We'll be even more estranged than we already are. But that's a bridge I'll cross later. Okay? And then he goes on to say, I know Mom, but it's not helping anymore. Do you want me to call Breland? I still don't know how to say her last name. The girl that her mom tried to set him up with. And cancel, or will you? And then his mother says, you can't humor me one last time. She is really lovely, Vaughn. It's a good connection to make for the farm. I know you'll get along with. And then he cuts her off and says, Mom, stop it. I said no more. And then he hears his brother laugh. And he says, am I on speakerphone? And then Cole says hello. And like he says hello in a very snarky way. And then Vaughn is like, Mom, I have a perfect solution for you. How about you set Cole and Abba up together? I feel like they would work real good together. His brother stops laughing at him, basically. His mom is basically like, okay, I'll see you, whatever, I'll cancel it, whatever, it's okay, like, I'll just see you there. And he's like, no, Mom, I'm not going. Like, I'm not ready, I'm busy, I'm happy at the ranch, I need more time to step in. Like, he doesn't want to be in the media and, like, go to this huge event that's gonna have paparazzi and shit. Like, he doesn't want to be there. Basically, he says no to going to the gala, and he says no to having a date. And then we move on to, we cut to a week. We cut to a week later, and Billy has been avoiding me all week. Or that's how it feels. Even though I know she's been spending her days driving in and from the track in Vancouver, training horses we have down there now that the suspension has lifted because, you know, she debuted the horse. She fixed Dee Dee. The 3-month little thing of, oh, you have to take care of this horse and horse only until you prove yourself has sort of ended. She can go and take care of other horses that they have in a different area. And that's what she's doing. And basically, Vaughn's being a total pussy and not going up to Billy and talking to her after the whole hookup situation and her freaking out situation. And because of that, they just haven't talked. They just haven't talked for an entire week. For an entire week, they just haven't talked. After that, after a week, Billy asks to come speak with Vaughn. Right? In a professional way. Well, in her head it's in a professional way, and Vaughn's hoping that it's not in a professional way. She goes into his office, she sits down, she says, thanks for seeing me. He says, of course, what's up? She says, I found a jockey for Dee Dee. Because the last time we checked, Vaughn promised her that she would be able to go find a jockey for Dee Dee. And she found one. And in Vaughn's head, after she says that, he's like, okay, well, that's not what I expected. I thought we were going to talk about what happened, but I guess that's not what's going to happen. So she goes on about the fact that she wants Violet to be the new jockey. Now, I mentioned jockey to be like a handler for the horses. She kind of takes care of them, helps around the ranch and whatnot. Billy figures out that she's actually a really good horse rider and that she's very close to getting her license to ride horses professionally and race them. And she comes up with the idea of, well, Dee Dee's already been around her for a very long time, so I feel like they would be very comfortable racing and riding together, right? So she's kind of like, hey, she's very gifted, she's excellent with the horses, and she's been working towards her license, and all I have to do is sign off on her riding hours and she'll be set. And Vaughn is kind of like, Billy, she's very young, very inexperienced. Has she even ridden in a race before? And are you just going to throw her up on a derby contending horse to find her footing? She is. That's all true, but I've had her up on Dee Dee all week. He loves her. We can't take any chances with how sensitive he is. You know that's as well as I do. He's only got so many races in him. He's not a run every weekend horse, and she'll stay out of his way. Let him do his thing. You should see them together. It's amazing. He groans. He's like, fuck, how did I end up here? Abandoned by the man I admired most, hiring a wild card of a trainer for his farm, his tarnished legacy, and now I'm about to put a completely green jockey on my most valuable horse, this farm's only possible saving grace. This is not the organized and logical approach I'd like to take these decisions. They make little sense. I'm losing it. And then Billy pulls the do you trust me card. And he's like, well, yes, I do trust you. Obviously, I fucking trust you. This man's falling in love with her, so obviously he trusts her. And so she goes into, well, trust me with this, I won't lay you down. He ends up saying, okay, he ends up agreeing, and she says, okay, great, amazing. And he's kind of springs up at the end and says, do you have plans for this weekend? And she says, I do. Lying her ass off. But she does. Technically, she ends up having plans, but she's lying. She just doesn't want to talk to him. And he's like, do you? Like, you're going out? And he says, yep, like I said, plans. And then she walks out. And it skips over to the next chapter. Now it's chapter 23, and it opens up with Billy's internal monologue being, I'm an idiot. Why did I say that? Of course, I don't have any plans. All I fucking do is work at Vaughn's fucking Harding's fucking farm. I have no social life to speak of. And now I've backed myself into a corner like a big freaking idiot. Goes and checks on Dee Dee, yada, yada, yada. She said, if I'm being completely honest, I'm offended he hasn't gone out of his way to talk to me this week. I know I've been in Vancouver at the track until late most days, but still, I want him to choose me, and I want him to work for it. She goes on a rant on how much she actually likes him, and how her doubts have started creeping in, and things are not doing well for her mentally. She's also kind of freaking out about the fact that she's so bothered that he hasn't gone up and talked to her. She says, I need help, professional help, but for now, Violet's will have to do. I fire off a text to meet at Dee Dee's paddock. By the time I arrive there, she's already waiting for me, a concerned look on her dainty face, twisting her hand. She says, what's wrong? She says, what are you doing tomorrow night? She says, what? Nothing. Why? She says, great, let's do something. She said, you sure you want me to hang out with a lowly groom? She says, I don't, but the new jockey for the local sensation Double Diablo will do. Now she breaks the news to Violet, and she kind of is too stunned to speak for a moment, and then she gets really excited and agrees to go out tomorrow night. She agrees to go out with her tomorrow night to celebrate about the fact that she has officially become the new jockey. Now it skips over to the next day, tomorrow night, and it says, I drive to a barn to pick up Violet up from her small apartment above the stables. She looks beautiful and distracted when she hops into the black Gold Rush Ranch truck. She says, you doing all right? She said, yep, but I need a drink. And she isn't kidding. That night I lose track of how many paralyzers Violet drinks. I switch to water after a couple of beers as I listen to her make vague comments about some guy she's been seeing who's clearly super unavailable, and I don't know where she finds the time, but by the sounds of it, she finally told him to hit the dusty trail, hence the ferocious speed of her drink. She says, we get to know more about Violet, and she says she ends up telling me more about her family and childhood in Alberta, her parents and her brothers, stifling and overprotective they are, how she basically moved out to British Columbia just to see the world on her own. The more she talks, the more sluggish her words get, and as much as I am amused by listening to her talk my ear off, I eventually suggest heading back to the ranch. Now she drops off Violet, they head back to the ranch, she drops off Violet, she goes into her little cottage area, she pulls up to her little cottage, and then she gets out, and on her front porch is Vaughn. Vaughn's at her house. She says, what are you doing here? He says, I came to talk to you. She says, don't bother, I'm going to bed. You should head back to your gala or whatever it is you're doing tonight, because that's the night he was supposed to go to the gala. He says, you are so totally infuriating. I'm about done with your running away from me. He says, speaking of running, how about you run back to your date in the pink dress now? He says, if I didn't know any better, I'd say you were jealous, Billy. Where were you tonight? She says, are you fucking kidding me? I was out with Violet, for crying out loud. You, on the other hand, spent the entire night with me, and then he kisses her. He cuts her off by kissing her. And then they come apart, and he says, I didn't go to the gala at all. I called my mom that morning when I left your place and told her to cancel it. I told her to stop trying to set me up, period, and if you didn't purposefully avoid me all week, you would know this by now. He says, Vaughn, you're my boss. I know we've blurred that line, but we need to define it again. I don't want this to be complicated. I don't want to keep tiptoeing around you. I just want to work and win races. He says, I want the same. Then they have a bigger moment. Like a very big moment. During this big moment, he says, if we're doing this, there can't be any more secrets, Billy. I can't take any more dishonesty in my life. Please don't hide your past away from me. She says, no more secrets. We skipped over to chapter 25. Now it's the morning after, and he makes her breakfast. Cutesy, cutesy, cutesy. Now while he's getting breakfast ready, and she's sitting on the counter, just sitting there, like Miss Billy Black goes on to say, what do we do now? What is this? And he says, we're together, Billy. I don't care what you name it. It's just like I told you last night. You're what I want. She says, I want you too. But I'm concerned about how that works at the farm or around the track. It's hard enough dealing with douchebags like Patrick Castle, the other jockey, without being accused of banging my boss. I do, but can we just keep it quiet for a bit? He says, of course. At the counter, his phone rings. Obviously, his phone rings in front of each, like, they're in the kitchen, she's sitting on the counter, he's cooking breakfast, his phone rings, and Billy's like, hey, are you gonna answer this? And he says, I don't know who it is, I still keep getting calls from reporters asking about my grandfather. I'm tired of telling them I have no comment. Billy says, let me take care of them for you then. She answers the phone and says, hello, Vaughn Harding's phone. Put me through to Mr. Harding. Unfortunately for you, I don't take orders from people whose mother didn't teach them to say please or thank you. He says, my mother is dead. Put him on now. At this moment, I'm like, who the fuck are we talking to? Who the hell are we talking to? Very interesting, very weird. She says, I guess it's a blessing that she's not here to witness your bad manners firsthand. He says, may I ask who's calling? He says Stefan Dalka. Now, I don't know who the hell Stefan Dalka is, but he turns out to be this really recluse, shady dude who showed up in the area about a year ago with a shit ton of money and no answers about who he was or where he came from or how he got the money. And in a small town where everyone knows everyone and everything about everyone, his secrecy is downright suspicious. His land, his stables, his horses, he bought them all outright and then waltzed into the tight-knit racing industry in the lower mainland like he's been a mainstay for years. Everyone in the community agrees it's fishy, as I've intentionally avoided all connections to the man, which is easy to do when he's secluded on his property. So Vaughn getting a call from this man, it's very, very interesting. Now, mind you, we're in Vaughn's point of view, so he just had that little internal monologue about who he kind of was. Billy says, charming, you were far more polite last week when you were needing me for information on the track. Vaughn's like, huh? How the hell does he know her? Or how the hell does she know him? What? When did y'all speak? When did y'all talk? What the hell's going on? They kind of assess the fact that he knows each other, da-da-da-da. Dalka says, Miss Black, may I please speak to Mr. Harding? I'd like to make him an offer on the black horse we spoke about last week. Now, Billy goes rigid and she goes, huh? What do you mean? What offer about Dee Dee? What are we talking about? Because we're officially talking about Dee Dee, and Billy does not play about Dee Dee. She says, okay, hands over the phone. Von Harding speaking. Mr. Harding, my name is Stefan Dalka. We haven't officially met, but I had the pleasure of speaking with your trainer, Miss Black. He says, this is a private number, Mr. Dalka. Care to elaborate on how you came to have it? He says, I have my ways. At any rate, as much as you know, I'm working hard to build an elite string of racing horses and thought we could work together as the two of the big players in the area. I saw your black colt run last weekend and I'd like to make you an offer. He says, my company email is listed on the website. You are always welcome to send a written offer. Though I have to tell you, I'm not looking to work with anyone. This dude laughs and then says, everything has a price, Mr. Harding. I knew your grandfather, you know. We had an excellent working relationship in a very threatening, very assumptuous kind of voice. And Vaughn does not like that. Vaughn did not play about his grandfather or the legacy that his grandfather gave him. He says, how lovely. Thank you for your condolences. Have a nice day. Now he hangs up. Or no, well, thank you for condolences. Have a nice day. Keep your eyes peeled for my email. It's been a pleasure chatting with you. And then he hangs up. And then Billy's like, are we selling the horse? What the hell's happening? What's going on? That was interesting. Dee Dee isn't for sale, right? I mean, I know horses come and go. I know it's a part of the business, but you're attached to him. Vaughn finishes. She says, I mean, yes. I mean, I'll be the first to admit that I love that horse, probably more than any horse I've ever had the pleasure of spending time with. But Vaughn, he can win it all. I know he can. He's our best shot at winning Denman Derby. Hell, maybe he even the Northern Crown. Horses like him come around once in a lifetime. You can't just replace that kind of prestige. He says, don't worry about it. Dalk is the last type of person I plan to go into business with. Now, chapter 26. It's the next day. It's in Billy's point of view. She's kind of reeling about everything that happened the night prior, not only with Vaughn, but also with the whole, what do you mean we're selling Dee Dee? What the hell what are you talking about? Goes into Vaughn's office, because Vaughn's working, obviously. Finds him sitting in his office, very serious face, very in thought. She says, I recognize that look, you're hashing something out. Tell me what's wrong. Dalka sent his offer. He said, I'm sorry, I had no idea who he was when I started talking to me. It's a lot. How much? Not enough. Especially considering the way that he roped Dermot into the conversation like he has something on him. Not wild about that implication. I don't even know where to start. Okay, I'll start. I want to tell you about my childhood. He said, you don't need to do that. You don't need to do that. But they promised each other no secrets. She promised him that she would tell him about her childhood and her past and whatnot. And so she tells him. She says, I grew up in Toronto in a painfully ostentatious neighborhood called Brittle Path, also known as Millionaire's Row, and yes, it's exactly as pretentious as it sounds, and no, I have zero intention of heading back that way, which is why the West Coast is a perfect place for me. Same country, opposite side. Anyways, she says, I have spent my youth being groomed to make someone a gracious wife. He says, have your parents met you? She says, that's just the thing, isn't it? My parents were so focused on curating everything about me, about our family, my appearances, my education, my extracurricular activities, my friends, that they overlooked pretty much everything about who I actually am. I don't think they really cared. If they could have had 2.5 kids just to achieve the perfect statistic, I think they would have. He says, I'm sorry. She says, I take solace in imagining their faces when they find out I'm an unmarried racehorse trainer. She goes on to say, I was 17 when the video of my dad surfaced. I'm not sure you've seen them. Pretty young escorts, a pile of and Canada's favorite prime minister. Naturally, I was expected to fall in line and come to my father's defense like a good little soldier. Nothing will ever be as humiliating as having to stand by him through that. Watching my mother smile and nod at people like everything was fine. She says, on my 18th birthday, my trust fund swapped into my name and I stormed out of there in an absolute blaze of glory. Took a bus out of town and ended up on Hank's doorstep. I knew even as a teenager I wasn't ever going to fall on my own sword to cover up another person's mistakes. I was done. When you make shitty fucking decisions, you probably end up with a shitty fucking situation, and you don't force the people you love to sacrifice themselves for your reputation. It's unforgivable. She goes on to say about the fact that on a lighter note, I have an older brother. His name is Rich. He's the only member of my family I keep in touch with, and you'd probably really like him. Sometimes he fakes business trips to come see me. I miss him. He says he stuck around. She said, oh yeah, that schmuck was born to be a politician. He'll stay out east, though he's not terribly tight with our parents either. He says, that's a lot. Sure is, but now you know my whole sordid past. The point of the story is people almost always disappoint me, but horses don't. He says, I don't want to disappoint you. She says, then don't. After that, we cut to chapter 27. Now, chapter 27 is her having her first practice with Violet and Dee Dee. They come to the evaluation and to the conclusion that Violet and Dee Dee are a very good pairing and they will be racing. Now, it comes to our attention that there will be a race, which is kind of like the first official race with Dee Dee and Violet, and it's coming up in a week. The next Saturday, there will be a race that counts for everything. If Dee Dee can pull off a win, he'll be qualified for the Derby. Because we let him start slow, this is the final qualifying opportunity. The dream I've dreamt of for years now is within reach and in my gut. Now I know I can just get him there. He'll put it off. He's a competitor. He'll know what to do. Then she kind of comes to the whole... Then it cuts to the race. At the end of the chapter, it cuts to the race. And she's very nervous, and she has a whole pep talk with Hank, and she's brushing Dee Dee, and she's incredibly anxious about the whole situation. And then that's where the chapter kind of cuts. For the past 6 chapters, there's been a lot going on. Billy and Yvonne have sort of established their relationship. Dee Dee found a new jockey, that is Violet. We figured out that Violet and Dee Dee actually work really well together, and Violet found a new character on lock. His name is Stefan Dalka. Gonna wonder who that is and how he's gonna come into play. Yeah, I'm not as invested as I was the last update I gave you. I'm not gonna lie to you. It could also just be because of my mood. I don't know. Basically, I've read 6 chapters. Those are my 6 chapters. I will update you guys later. Bye, see you in a second. Hey guys, update. The last time I updated you guys, I read chapter 27 and I stopped at chapter 28, and I decided to read 3 more chapters today instead of 6, because for the last couple of times I updated you guys, I have been reading 6 chapters at a time. Update you guys on what happened in these 3, and I'm pretty close. I'm real freaking close to finishing the book. Okay, to recap chapter 28, or to kind of start off where we left off, Billy was kind of freaking out over the fact that Violet and Dee Dee are going to have their first race together. Violet is a new jockey. Dee Dee is going through a very important race today. It's kind of like a qualifying race, whatever. And chapter 28 is the gates fly open and the 10 horses explode onto the track. Now they're running against each other, and they're racing, and you see Violet and Dee Dee bolt into the race, and they win. They end up winning, and they end up working really, really well together as a team. They win the race. Billy is like super fucking anxious during watching the race, and then once they win, she's like jumping up and down, fucking screaming her head off, and then she goes down onto the racetrack because she's watching it from like one of the balconies or whatever the hell she's watching it from. But she goes down and she congratulates Violet and Dee Dee, and then she goes up and goes to Vaughn and kisses him. She kisses him in front of all of these cameras and all of these people, because obviously the race is televised, and obviously there's going to be interviewers and the media and the cameras and just everyone. So she kisses him, and that's kind of where that lives off. Now, I'm going to mention something that happens in this chapter, but we're not going to pick that up until later on. Billy picks up on this little moment that Violet and Cole, Vaughn's brother, have, where Cole goes up to Violet after winning the race, whispers something into her ear, and then walks away. Now, Violet's reaction to that whispering something into her ear is very interesting reaction. Her face drains of all color. She goes completely pale, and she's just kind of affected by whatever the hell he told her. And that's kind of what happens. Now, okay, After that interaction, after winning the race and doing that stuff, they take Didi and they put him back into his stable, wherever they're keeping the horse. They put him back in there. Hank, Violet, and Billy are all there taking care of him, making sure he's good, taking off all the things that he had on for the race and all that. And then Hank and Violet kind of put their foot down and like, hey, you need to stop worrying about Didi and you need to go have fun and celebrate in the owner's box or wherever. You need to go with Vaughn and you need to go have a drink and you need to celebrate the win, because if it wasn't for you, we wouldn't have won. And so she's like, okay, I'm gonna leave and I'm gonna go. And so she leaves. And when she's exiting the barn and she's exiting the stables, she goes, I don't know what she does, but I think she's about to enter the building where the owners and stuff are in, and she comes across, or she hears Stefan Dalka, which we talked about Stefan Dalka last time and how he made an offer on Didi, and Vaughn was like, he's not for sale, we're not selling the horse. But she stops midway of her walking to the building, and she rounds the little corner, because I'm guessing this is like the building, right? Or this is the building, this is where Billy is, and then this is where Stefan is, and he's talking with Vaughn. Now, the conversation that Vaughn and Stefan has, what does he say? Let me read it. Let me read to you what they're talking about. He says, Stefan says, I've been waiting for a response to my offer. I've already informed you that the horse isn't for sale. Everything has a price. So you've said. The horse is just qualified for the Derby, though. He isn't going anywhere. You're right. It's probably worth more than $10 million I offered last week. 10 million is insane. 10 million is a lot of fucking money for a horse. Billy is kind of taken aback because she didn't know what amount of money Stefan had offered for Didi, because Vaughn didn't really tell her that. He just told her that, like, hey, they had an offer. Vaughn goes on to say, I don't care what your offer is. I almost get the feeling that you don't like me, Mr. Harding. I don't. This is the Vaughn I met the first day when I pulled into the parking lot at Gold Rush Ranch. Cold and dismissive. 20 million. I cover my mouth to muffle the sound of me choking. That's an insane number. And on the business side of things, I know it's also not an offer to turn down. The amount of money could go a long way to buy a lot of nice horses, but the sentimental side of me, no. Didi is too special. He could be worth $1 enough of the same. He is priceless. The thought of him leaving makes my eyes sting. It's not about the money. It's not about the number. It's about the future. The horse isn't for sale. End of story. The future, 20 million, and I go to the press with proof that your grandfather wasn't involved in any illegal gambling schemes. I'll clear his name. Everything goes still. I swear the birds stop chirping. The world feels like someone hits pause. A smirk spreads across Dalka's face. It's a calculated one, like he saw the opening chink in Vaughn's armor and aimed right for it. It feels like a spear to my gut just to watch it all play out. Are you telling me my grandfather wasn't involved in your scheme? It wasn't my scheme, Harding. And no, I'm just telling you I can make it look that way. He did what he's been accused of. Vaughn goes white like a sheet, the truth of Dalka's words hitting him like a wrecking ball. The silence that follows is so heavy, I feel it like a vise on my lungs, and I can't help the loud gasp that escapes my lips when Vaughn nods his head. Send me the paperwork. That head of wavy dark hair, the one I love running my fingers through, rips around in my direction. Alarm shines in his eyes as he takes me in the way I'm peeking out around the end of the building. I know that I'm intruding, but truthfully, I don't give a fuck. So Vaughn just agreed to sell her horse to a dude we barely know anything about for the sole reason of 20 mil, which is a lot of money to be fair. But that horse could easily win more money than fucking 20 mil. You know what I mean? And like grow a bigger reputation for the farm than just clearing the grandfather's name. The dude's dead. The dude is dead. Why do we have to clear his name? If he did that shit, he did that. That was his fucking grave that he dug. Why do we have to clear his name? You know what I mean? Like, what? I don't know. Anyways, Miss Black, how nice of you to drop in. Dalka's voice drips with sarcasm. No need to hide back there. I have a proposition for you as well. He waves me forward with a smug smirk. I walk towards him on wooden legs, avoiding meeting Vaughn's eyes. I can't look at him right now. I'd either kick him in the balls or start crying, and that's a tightrope I'm walking into right now. Congratulations on your big win today, Dalka says. I followed this horse since they started trying to make him run. I know what a challenge he's been. I also know that you've forged a special relationship with him. You're very talented and you've done incredible work. Now he looks earnest, genuine, and I just stare at him with no emotion. How could he possibly know all this? Am I supposed to swoon at his compliments? When the horse arrives at my facility, I can assure you he'll be treated exceptionally well. Nothing but the best. That said, I'd like to offer you a position as a trainer. Head trainer. The compensation would be more than competitive. I say nothing. I pop a hip and cross my arms as I glare back at him, rage simmering in my gut. The gall, the absolute balls on this asshole to blackmail Vaughn into selling the best horse in his farm will ever have, and then turn around and solicit his employee right in front of him. It makes me want to rearrange his striking face. Listen to me, Gangster Gary, and listen to me carefully. I am well acquainted with macho sleazebags like you, overgrown children who think they're smarter than everyone around them. Billy, be careful, Vaughn cuts in. Don't you dare interrupt me. I have some choice words to share with you as well, but I can only handle one spoiled asshole at the same time. No one ever talks to me like that, says Dalka. Well, maybe it's about time they start. I've spent enough years of my life catering to powerful men with no moral compasses, whose priorities are all jumbled, whose loyalties lie only with themselves, and I'm not about to jump into that pool again. Do I love that horse? With all my fucking heart. But I am also a professional. Horses come and go. It's all a part of the sport, and I'm a big girl, and my life will go on. But I will never sacrifice my integrity for money, and I will never, never work for a man like you. He tilts his head at me, like a puzzle he's trying to piece together. I don't like it one bit. I turn to leave. To my back, he says, among the Romani people, we would say that Double Diablo is your heart horse. A horse you understand like no one else can. In that case, good luck at the Derby with my heart horse. That was chapter 28. Chapter 28 was Vaughn basically selling Dee Dee and breaking his trust and Billy's heart at the same time. All at the same time. Chapter 29 is Vaughn realizing what the fuck he did and what a stupid fucking decision he did. It starts off with fuck. I spin on my heel and take long strides after Billy. From behind me, I hear Daka say something about sending the offer via courier this week. I don't know. I don't even focus on him right now. All I can see is the utterly broken look on Billy's face when she heard me accept his offer. I've come to accept that Dermot was probably guilty of fixing races, of defrauding the sport, but hearing confirmation of that stunt. But even so, it was an offer I had to accept. To clear my grandfather's name would mean so much, not only for the business but for my family. It could mend the rift he created with this whole scandal. I have to make her understand, make her see that what I chose is the best way forward. He says, with $20 million, I can buy multiple champions for her to train and restore the farm's reputation. Obviously, this is not how I wanted her to find out. I follow her down the bustling stable alleyway towards Dee Dee's stall. Her heels clack as she speeds away from me, and I'm impressed by how quickly she can walk in her heels. But then I'm reminded that Wilhelmina would have had plenty of experiences with that. She hasn't always been a casual horse girl I know and love. I realize I do in fact love her. I didn't want to piss her off or hurt her, but the offer Dalka made was too much for me to ignore. So if you love her, why would you sell her fucking horse? Like, I can't understand that. Why would you sell the fucking horse that she fucking loves so dearly just to clear your grandfather's name when your grandfather clearly was doing some shady shit? And the people know, and that's okay. Sometimes you gotta take fucking responsibility for your actions. And even though the dude's dead, you still gotta take some responsibility for your actions. You know what I mean? Like, I don't understand why he's so... Like, I understand he was a good grandfather and he took you in when everyone else abandoned you and shit, but like, dude, what do you want? Like, I don't know. Like, why would you do that? Why would you have to, like, you could win so much more money over the years. Like, you already have a shit ton of money. What's $2 fucking million? And also, I mean, I don't know, $2 million is a lot. $2 million is a lot. But like, Dee Dee's a fucking great horse, and you're just breaking trust with Billy too. Like, why would you? I don't know why he's being so stupid right now. I think he's just being a fucking stupid idiot right now. Anyways, Vaughn gets Billy to talk to him. I think you care about yourself and that's about it. Today you made that abundantly clear. Are you kidding me right now? Taking the deal is what's best for everyone. It's business, Billy. $20 million and the farm's name out of the mud. Do you know how many promising horses we can add to the string for that amount of money? How much work we can do around the farm? It's a no-brainer. You really don't get it, do you? It's not about selling the horse, it's about why. This horse just ran his heart out for us and qualified for one of the most prestigious races in the world. He came out of nowhere and overcame a lot of shit to put your beloved farm on the map. But that's not enough, is it? Because this isn't about the farm's reputation. He just put you back on the map, and in return you traded him away on a shady deal. What if I did? 20 million is 20 million, Billy. So what? If he keeps winning, he'll make you that in his first year. Time to face facts, Vaughn. Your grandfather did break the law. He did everything they have accused him of. That snake in the grass just confirmed it. Covering it up will not change a goddamn thing. How about a little support? This is important to me. You know how hard this has been for me. So important that you're willing to trample all over my career, Violet's career, our relationship? Imagine thinking that your desperate need to cover up a legitimate crime, one that undermines the respectability of our sport, trumps everyone around you. Real living beings are going to suffer for this, and that's all an acceptable sacrifice to polish up a dead man's reputation. Unbelievable. Reality check, Vaughn. He was always as crooked as his reputation suggests. It's okay for him to have been both a fabulous grandfather and a shady businessman. Reconcile it. Deal with it. I keep staring. At a loss for words, deep down, I know that it's not acceptable sacrifice. It sounds downright ludicrous when she lays it out like that. But I've spent so many months wishing and dreaming of a way to make the gossip and whisper stop. To make everyone see the wonderful man who I got to know. I can't turn my back on that goal. Can't even fathom it. I understand that. But realistically, I don't think anyone gives a fuck, sir. You said you wouldn't disappoint me. This is business decision. I have to stand by my choices even when my employees don't like it. Employee, she snaps at me. Yes, Billy, trainers don't usually decide about the sale of horses they don't own. I know you feel like this horse is yours, but he's not. He's mine. Thank you for the clarification, Mr. Harding. I'm not going to sit pretty on the arm of someone whose devious decision-making skills are based solely on public perception again. I deserve someone who will choose me. We're done. Good for her for setting her foot down, but also, I fucking hate third act breakups, bro. I understand why there's a third act breakup. It's actually pretty fucking clear, but it's also like, bro, I don't know, over a horse? But also, over your grandfather's reputation? Like, who the fuck cares? Who cares if your grandfather was a bad man? I understand he was a good grandfather to you, but ain't nobody gonna give a fuck that he was a good grandfather to you when he did so much other shady shit. I don't know. But the next day or two, it skips over to a next day or two, and he's like thinking about shit over his head, and he's like, it's been almost 24 hours and I still haven't heard from Billy, and I miss her already. I'll give her time to cool down, and then I'll lay my line of thinking out more clearly. She'll come around. I know she cares about me, and even if she's been reluctant to accept those feelings, this is just a bump in the road. Couples fight all the time. We'll work it out. I can't lose her. Don't be too fucking sure about that, sir. Don't be too fucking sure. He's sitting in his office, and someone knocks at his door. It's Billy. She comes in. A chest constricts at the sight of her. She's obviously been crying a lot, which is not what I expected. She looks devastated. Hi, I say. Hi. Do you have a minute? Yeah, of course. Thanks. She folds herself into the chair, avoiding eye contact with me as she drops a piece of paper between us. What is this? This is my 2 weeks notice. You're quitting? Yes. Why? I just can't do this. It just hurts too much to stay. I'll find somewhere less complicated to go. That's it? You're just gonna quit on me? You quit on me first. Is that really what you think? You can't bring yourself to see my side of things at all? Oh, I can see them just fine. I just don't like what I see. If it's alright with you, I'd like to spend one more day with Dee Dee. After that, you won't see me around the farm. I'll finish out my 2 weeks on the track instead, and we'll move out once I have everything wrapped up. I don't know how things are going to proceed with Dee Dee, and I can't be here when he leaves. The last thing I can do is make it easy on her to go, and I should comfort her. I should tell her I'm in love with her, but I'm not one to grovel. Instead, all I want to do is lash out. What kind of pussy shit is that? Genuinely, what kind of pussy ass shit is that? What are you talking about? You don't grovel. If you truly loved her, you would have groveled. If you truly loved her, you wouldn't have sold her fucking horse. And us? I thought you weren't running anymore. Thank you for the opportunities you've offered me. I can't tell you how much I appreciate everything you've done for me. I hope you'll be happy. And then she walks out of his office. She walks out of his office. Chapter 30 starts off with Billy talking with Hank, and they have this huge conversation, or not big conversation, but this conversation of her leaving and how she's grateful for him and has always wanted someone to choose her, even when there's nothing in it for them, even when it's not convenient and stuff like that. And Hank basically tells her that it's not your fault. He says, I choose you, Billy, and I choose you again and again, and you're like a daughter to me, and I'm so proud of you. But Vaughn, he's a good man who's making misguided decision. He had a hard year, but you're right that it's not your job to fix this for him. He has to figure this out on his own. If I know him at all, I suspect he'll come around. I just hope it's not too late. Billy says, I don't know if I can forgive him for this, even if he does. It goes on to kind of explain things to her and basically says to keep her heart open, that he knows that it's in her nature to sort of close herself off. If she wants people to choose her, she has to be able to give them the opportunity. She kind of has to be open to be chosen and keep her heart open, but also making sure that no one hurts her. Basically says it's a very delicate balance. And that's kind of how the conversation goes. After that, she goes and has a little talk and a little think and checks on Dee Dee and kind of has a little talk with him, basically saying goodbye to Dee Dee, which is really sad. But she kind of has this little internal monologue and says, I have said goodbye to plenty of horses in my career, but this feels different, and it's only made worse because my relationship with one has blown up too. My pride won't let me do that, won't let me forgive him. I've compromised my dignity one too many times to cover up the scandal of a powerful man. It left me feeling dirty, bought, and cheap. I'd take a broken heart over that feeling any day, even if it means losing the man I love. So they both love each other, God. Maybe I should tell him that I love him. I keep it circling around in my head. Maybe he would have handled the whole thing differently if he knew. But then if he loved me back, he wouldn't have done this, would he? If he loved me, he wouldn't be selling Dee Dee off to clear a dead man's tarnished reputation at my expense. Now, after she does her little goodbye to Dee Dee, Violet and her name is Marta? What's her name? Myra. Violet and Myra take her out to a little bar in the small town that they all live in, and they're just talking, and they're making sure that she isn't too heartbroken and stuff like that, and making sure she's okay. Billy's talking with Violet and basically telling her, like, you don't have to stress about things that are out of your control. You don't have to stress about me leaving, and you shouldn't have to stress about your own career. There's no way that Dalka would switch up a winning combination like Violet and Dee Dee, because obviously Violet has only ever really written Dee Dee professionally. Billy's basically kind of reassuring her that she's a good jockey and that she will work with Dee Dee very well, and that Stefan Dalka would be an idiot not to take her on to be the jockey for Dee Dee and stuff like that. Billy says he's a lot of things, but he's not stupid. Myra snorts as she takes a big gulp. Care to elaborate, Dr. Thorne? She says. Myra says, the man is a goddamn snake in the grass, but you are right. He isn't stupid. Billy says, I didn't know you had any experience with him. He says, I'm a track vet. I know everything about everyone, every rumor, every hookup, every backroom deal. He's been after me about coming to work at his farm exclusively. He's scary and manipulative. She says that to Myra. She says, don't I know it, but I need to explore my options. I'm going to have to find something more consistent than just the track. Getting laid off during the off-season isn't ideal for paying back student loans or other things. Not nearly enough. Billy suggests that she goes and talks to Hank because the ranch needs a vet to be on the ranch, and she basically suggests that Myra go talk with Hank so that she could maybe get a job there. Myra says something about how that she's sick of living with her parents on a dairy farm. Billy says, you still live with your parents? She says, it's a long story. I'm guessing we're kind of getting an introduction to Myra because, like, we really haven't heard shit from Myra. Like, we don't know anything about her, but I'm guessing she's going to be a character later on in the series along with Violet. Billy says, hey, what's good with you? She's speaking to Violet. She says, hey, what's good with you and G.I. Joe? She says, Vaughn's brother. The two of them are weird as fuck around each other, and I don't need a college education to figure that much out. Violet takes a long sip of her drink. I plead the fifth. Oh God, this has to be so good, V. You're killing me. Everything comes out in the end, Violet. In this case, it better not. Where chapter, 30? 30 ends off. And that's my update. Those are the 3 chapters I read. Yeah, that's all I got. I don't know what to tell you. That's all I got. They're most likely going to get back together because that's what happens in these books. They get back together because it's called a third act breakup for a reason. I'm very, very close to finishing the book. I know that at the end of the book there is a novella, but I'll probably read that and make a separate video on that. But I don't know. We shall see. I'll update you guys in a bit. Hey guys, update. So I read from chapter 31 to the end of the book. I finished the book and I'm here to update you on what the last couple chapters kind of look like for the book. From chapter 31 to the epilogue. So there's 33 chapters technically, and then there's an epilogue, and then there's a bonus chapter, which I don't really care for the bonus chapter. I mean, obviously I read it, but like I'm not gonna tell you guys about it because it's kind of irrelevant to the ending. So to pick up where we left off, obviously Billy and Vaughn have broken up and they have their little third act breakup thing going on, which in my head, obviously we're close to the end of the book, and every romance book I've ever read has been like a happy ending, unless, I don't know, one of them dies, but like obviously that didn't happen here. So obviously they're gonna end up together, so spoiler, they end up together. But basically chapter 31 starts up with Vaughn sitting in his desk and looking out the window to see Dee Dee and Billy in the little stable and seeing her cry with her horse. So she obviously, we know that Billy has a very strong connection with Dee Dee and is always kind of talking to Dee Dee and opening herself up to the horse and like talking to him, and that's her best friend. That's her kid, for real. That's her kid, that's her therapist, that's her best friend, that's her horse. And so he sees her out from his window in his office just crying, talking to Dee Dee, and he's like in his head second guessing himself, second guessing his decisions, thinking about like, I'm so stupid, like I did that to her, like I made her feel this way, I did all this shit, like just kind of taking accountability basically for what are the things that basically happened and stuff like that, and like him selling her horse and things like that. And that's kind of the beginning of chapter 31. He also admits that he can't bring himself to sign the agreement that he has with Stealth and Delka, and basically that he's an idiot and he should have never even like gotten himself into this. But he also, a part of him wants to save his grandfather's like image and save his family's image for whatever reason, and he's just beating himself up for the whole situation. And he's also thinking about like, I love her so much, but like I also love my family, and da-da-da. He's just being an idiot basically. Dude's being an idiot. And then Hank walks past his office door. Obviously he always kind of keeps his office door open. That's something that has been mentioned multiple times, that he just kind of leaves it open. Hank basically walks by and Vaughn calls him in and is like, hey, I need some advice. And Hank is like, hey dude, and gives it, like he comes in and he gives it to him straight, bro. He's like, hey, let me stop you right there. Like, I understand whatever the hell you think you're doing, you think is the right way, but it's not the right way. Like, I see Billy as my daughter and you're currently breaking her fucking heart. Like, she's out there taking care of the horse that you sold, crying her fucking eyes out, and you're in here trying to make yourself feel better about the shit. And it's just basically like, we all know that horses moves on and we all know that it's business and whatnot, but you are playing and hurting Billy's feelings basically. He's like, suck it up, you need to get your shit together basically. Hank says, I'm proud to work here at Gold Rush Ranch. I respect you, but I love Billy. So right now, watch my girl's heart break. I can't say that I like you very much. I'll get over it. So will she. But you, well, I'm afraid that it will be too late when you finally come to your senses, and that she'll be the one you'll never get over. All you have left is more money that you don't need, and the memory of a dead man who wanted nothing but the best for you. Period, Hank. Period. You tell him. You tell him, Hank. Anyways, after that, Vaughn kind of gets that hint, and he takes the hint and he leaves. He leaves the ranch and he goes and talks to his brother. He drives into the city, he goes to his family's business building, whatever the fuck in the city, and he goes and talks to his brother, because his brother for months and months and months has been bugging him about going over financial plans or some shit, and basically takes that as the reason to go see his brother. But in reality, he just wants advice. He wants advice, and he also kind of just wants to not think about his fucking stupid decisions. And he goes and he talks to his brother, and he's like, what the fuck? His brother's kind of like, why are you here? Like, like you never come. One, it's been months since I've seen you in this building. Two, you never really come talk about financial things. Like, I have to literally beg you to come to talk about the financial whatever the fuck they are talking about. And his brother's just like calling him out and is like, hey, this is weird. Why are you here? Why are you dressed like this? Why do you look like this? Why is your energy off? And Vaughn basically says, oh, I'm fine, whatever. And Cole is like, you're fucking lying. What are you talking? Like, calls him out. Why are you lying to me? Be so fucking for real right now. And Vaughn breaks and says, it's the fucking horse. And Cole says, the $20 million one. Because the $20 million, that one? He says, one and the same. It's just proving to be complicated. Cole says, why? She says, I may have failed to mention that there's another condition of his purchase, one that Billy is aware of and not impressed by. Now I am all turned inside out and second guessing myself over a woman. First of all, you should be over a woman. If you're gonna be fucking messed up in the head, it should be over a woman. unless it's your family or some big decision that you have to make over your future. Unless it's those two things, it should be about a woman. Just saying. Moving on. He told his family and told Cole that he was going to sell the horse, but he didn't specify everything. He just said, oh yeah, I made a deal with Stefan Dalka for $20 million, but he didn't tell him about the whole, I'll give you information or I'll cover up your grandfather's reputation, whatever the fuck. And he goes on and tells him about that. And Cole's looking at him like, you fucking dumbass, bro. Like, you dumbass. He gives him a glare, like a death glare. He says, why the fuck would you make that kind of deal? With a snake like Stefan Dalka? What the fuck is wrong with you? He's like, to clear grandpa's name, our name. Cole goes on and says, lose the rose-colored glasses, kid. Time to stop living in your pretty fairy tale land where everything always turns up Vaughn. We all loved Dermont, but the man fucked up. He made poor decisions consciously. You think I spent years in a special operations not to do a little research on what went down with him? He did it, plain and simple. Vaughn says, I know he did. Cole says, you're telling me you know he's guilty, but you still dove headfirst into a shady backroom deal to fabricate his innocence? In exchange for a buttload of money and the only good thing that's happened to that business and you in years? I know you spent years perfecting the shiny veneer of this family's reputation, but good God, Vaughn, this is real life, not a PR fix. Vaughn says, when you put it like that, and he goes into kind of like a mental spiral and is like, what the fuck do I do? What do I do? What do I do? What do I do? Cole says, you're going to blow the most genuine relationship you've had in your entire adult life to stage a cover-up. Billy Black might be the most insane and annoying woman I've ever met in my life, but at least her moral compass is intact. And basically, what this whole conversation ends up being is Vaughn figuring out that he's a fucking dumbass and coming to his senses, and then Cole telling him that you should tear up the contract and you should beg for her back. And that's how you're going to fix that issue. And that's exactly what Vaughn does. Because when it cuts to later on into the chapter, Vaughn going up to Billy's house and is knocking on her door and is like, Billy, it's Vaughn, open the door, I need to talk to you. Billy's like, what do you want? You should go. Billy, I want to explain, I want to apologize, I want us. She says, it's not enough, I can't do this. I promised myself I wouldn't. You can't drag me into this now that I'm finally free. It's just cruel. He says, tell me how to fix this, I'll do anything. She says, you can't fix it. You broke my trust. I know it must be hard for someone like you to fathom, but sometimes when you break a toy, you can't just rush out and buy a new one. He says, I just want a chance to prove how much I care about you, Billy. She says, if you cared about me, you wouldn't be selling my horse. You wouldn't be making this deal. There's a reason they say that two wrong things don't make a right. Anyways, he leaves, and he's like, I'm not done here. I'm gonna try to win her back, but he leaves. Chapter 32 is Billy showing up for Dee Dee's race. Dee Dee has a race to be one of the contenders for like this big derby that happens in Canada. Billy goes and sees Dee Dee race, obviously with Violet being the jockey. In the middle of the race, she ends up standing like in the middle of the crowd. She's not like in one of the boxes or anything because she doesn't want to see Vaughn and she doesn't want to see anyone from the team or anything like that. So she goes and she stands in the crowd. Right before the race starts, she sees Dee Dee and Violet line up for the race, and she sees the colors because in her brain, she thinks Vaughn sold Dee Dee to Stefan Dalka. Stefan Dalka's colors are black and green. The Gold Rush Ranch colors are black and yellow. And when she sees Dee Dee line up to race, she sees that he's still in black and yellow. And she's like, what the fuck, what is this? What do you mean? It cuts to chapter 33, and she's like, I'm blinking fast, testing my eyes, trying to figure out why Violet is sporting the golden Gold Rush Ranch silks, the silks that look so pretty against the coal black horse rather than the bright green. And then it says that the speakers buzz back to life, so the speakers are talking, right? Ladies and gentlemen, we've had a somewhat unconventional change to our lineup today. Number 8, formerly raced under the name Double Diablo and owned by the Gold Rush Ranch, has just submitted a change in name and ownership. Please note in your programs that number 8 is now registered under the name Mr. Black. Billy's like, what the fuck? She says, that's what I jokingly told Vaughn I'd name him months ago. What the fuck kind of sick joke is this? The speaker said, and the colt is now both owned and trained by Miss Billy Black. Vaughn sold the horse and renamed the horse. And then renamed him. Because remember when I mentioned that she hated his name and that's why we started calling him Dee Dee? Anyways, Billy is freaking the fuck out watching this race because right after the speakers say this, they start zooming. The race starts. Long story short, there was a little complications during the race, but long story short, Dee Dee wins the race. He becomes one of the champions and Billy's freaking the fuck out. And then she hears Vaughn come up behind her and says, congratulations, Miss Black. Your horse ran beautifully. He says, but how? And Vaughn says, I sold him to you. She says, I don't have that kind of money, Vaughn. I found $1 in your grooming stall. I took that in trade. She said, you sold me a Derby winner for $1? She said, why on earth would you do that? He says, you told me that I couldn't fix this unless I didn't sell your horse. So that's exactly what I did or didn't do. Whatever. The gist of it is he's yours. I couldn't bring myself to sign the contract. I knew that while I had already broken your trust, I didn't have to break your heart by selling your horse. He goes on to do the little spiel of, I want you, I choose you, I love you, yada, yada, yada. They get together. They get back together. Yo, cutesy, whatever. They go back to the stall. They're drinking their little champagne because she won. And it's great. It's great. Everything is great. And then the epilogue comes, and it's just them being together. And then, which I wasn't really expecting, I felt like a little too soon, but he asked her to marry her. Will you marry me moment. Yeah, they're engaged. Yay. Or we don't see the wedding in the epilogue nor the bonus scene, but basically, they live happily ever after. They live happily motherfucking ever after. And that's basically all that happens in the book. He ends up selling the horse to her. She owns the horse, which I don't really know how that's going to work out, but I guess she owns the horse. I'm guessing she's keeping her job at the Gold Rush Ranch. She's with him. They're engaged. Violet is still the jockey. Hank is still one of the trainers. Yada, yada, yada. They're together. Happily ever after. They love each other. Yay. That's the end of the book. That's the end of the book, except for, obviously, this is the novella that's kind of, oh shit. This is the novella that's attached to the end of the book. This was Off to the Races by Elsie Silver. It's not a book that I loved super, like, it's not I definitely don't love this book. I definitely didn't hate this book, but I also didn't, like, fall in love with this book or the characters, which is fine. I have these types of moments. It took me really long to finish this kind of book. I don't know if I had a reading slump. I don't know if my mood just wasn't in it to read this kind of book. I don't know if I liked King of Gluttony too much compared to this book, because sometimes when I read a book that's so good in my brain, and then I start reading this kind of book, it just doesn't really hit the same. I don't know. It feels like a book that you could read as like a beginner. It feels like if I had read this kind of book when I had first started reading books like this, I would have liked it a lot more. But obviously now that I have more experience and I've read a lot of different books in my lifetime and stuff like that, I feel like it was okay. I didn't love it. I didn't love it, but I also didn't hate it. I liked it. It wasn't mid, but it also wasn't like, oh my god, I love this book. You know what I mean? So I don't think I'm gonna make a video for the novella. I think I'll just read it separately by myself, and then I will probably see you guys when I read the next book in this series, because I am gonna read the next book in the series, and hopefully I will like the rest of the books a lot better than this one. To rate it out of 5 stars, I don't know, maybe like a 2.5. Maybe a 2.5. Though it wasn't cringy at any point. Well, I don't know how to feel about this book. The writing wasn't bad, but it wasn't like, oh my god, I love it. It kind of felt dated, but it's not at all at the same time. It wasn't cringy. It didn't give me the ick at any moment. I didn't love the main characters. Like, I didn't love Billy or Vaughn, but I also didn't hate them. Well, I kind of hated Vaughn for a hot minute, but like, I don't know. It's probably a book that I'm not going to remember much. I'm really probably not going to remember much. But that doesn't mean that Elsie Silver is a bad author or Elsie Silver is a bad writer. It just means that I personally didn't love it, and that's okay. I could easily love one of her future books, and I could easily love one of her future series. But you can definitely kind of tell that this is like her first published book, and a lot of authors kind of have their first. Even like I'm sure my favorite author probably had a first book that just wasn't the best. You know, like you got to start somewhere. Anyways, I'm rambling too much, but yeah, this was Off to the Races. I don't know how to feel. That was my review. I hope you guys liked this review or this jab session, and if you made it this far, well then, I know this video is going to be long. All of my videos so far have been really long, so if you made it to the end of this video, well, thank God that you sat here and watched my entire video. Anyways, thank you guys for watching. I love you guys. I'll see you when I read the next book of this series. Okay, bye.